Welcome to another week of Greek Verse a Day. Last week we ended with a long translation of Revelation 2:13, and we're going to start this Monday with a longer translation of Revelation 2:14. So as always, I encourage you to be working from your Reader's Edition, doing as much active translation as you can on your own. That's going to be how you learn best, by doing the work, and then having your work corrected by me on the video here. So you're working from this. We'll do our two readings, one slow, one fast, give you a chance to pause, and then I'll jump in with some grammatical comments and a translation. So let's go ahead and read slowly together. Al echo kata su alaga hati ekes eke kratuntas tain didakain balaam has Edidasken, to Balak, Balain, Skandalon, Enopion, Ton, Huion, Israel, Phagain, Idolothuta, Kai, Pornusai. Once more, a little bit faster. Al echo kata su alaga, hati ekes eke, Kratuntas tain didakain Balaam, has edidasken to Balak, Balain, Skandalon, Enopion, Ton, Huion, Israel, Phagain, Idolothuta, Kai, Pornusai. All right, at this point, go ahead and pause the video, see what you can make of the translation, and I'll jump back in. So we ended last week with Jesus addressing the church in Pergamum, or addressing the angel over the church of Pergamum, and saying some good things about them, how they were faithful even in the midst of one of their members being killed. Now we're going to get some negative comments about this church, as the pattern goes, mentioning the positive things and then giving them sort of the warning that follows it. So we have all, a conjunction meaning but, and then our main verb immediately following it. Echo, present active indicative, first person singular. So I have kata su is going to be a prepositional phrase, meaning kata with the genitive means against. So against you, notice this is singular here, the angel over the church is being addressed. So I have against you alaga. This is going to be the object of the verb echo. So I have against you a few things. So this is going to be a neuter accusative plural from alagos, which means little or small. So with the plural, we're going to make this into a substantive that means a few things. But I have a few things against you. And then what is against the church in Pergamum is these things. This hati is sort of multifunctional. We've talked about in the past how hati can be a quotation mark. It can introduce what is called direct discourse. It can mean that or because. In this case, it's almost functioning like a semicolon in English. I have a few things against you. These are them. Ekes. So a repetition of this verb from over here, but in this case, a second person singular. You have, and then the adverb there, eke meaning there. You have there, and this is where things get a little bit sort of weird, or might have given you some trouble, I should say. You have there kratuntas. So this is going to be a present active participle, accusative masculine plural from krateo, which we've seen previously, actually just in the previous verse, I believe, meaning to grasp. You have there, so because this is a participle, it's a substantival participle. And normally, we would like to have right in here to indicate the substantival participle, the definite article that matches it in case, gender, and in number. Tous kratuntas. But we obviously do not have that right here. And the reason that we don't have that here is because John wants this to be indefinite. So it's a substantival, those grasping, but because it's indefinite, John wants it to be some who are grasping. So it's not all of those who grasp, but some who grasp. You have there some who grasp, and what they grasp is this accusative right here. Tain didakein, the teaching Balaam. So once again, we have a name here. We've seen previously in Revelation how we don't get notes on names in your Greek Reader's Edition. And we've also seen that many names in Greek are indeclinable. That is, they're not going to change their form for different cases. That's what's going on here. This is a genitive. This is a genitive word, but it's not in genitive form. It doesn't change its ending to indicate the genitive. But nonetheless, we still translate it the teaching of Balaam. So you have there some grasping to, or some holding on to, or some sort of following the teaching of Balaam. And then after this, we have hosts, a relative pronoun. Once again, we have the rough breathing mark right there. Rough relative. This is going to be nominative masculine singular, and its matching with, or its antecedent, is going to be Balaam, which is also a masculine singular noun, in this case a pronoun. So this relative is going to give us more information about Balaam. So in essence, everything that follows right here is going back to Balaam and telling us more about this Balaam, who the story of Balaam is in Numbers 21 and 22. I believe, if my reference is right there. You can pause and check me on that if you'd like to. And in this case, and in this time period, Balaam is not necessarily a positive figure, as we'll see as we translate. This Balaam is sort of in Second Temple Judaism, in the period of Judaism when Revelation was written, was a sort of became a cautionary tale. It became a figure of caution for not seeking after idolatry or not acting idolatrously. So Balaam, who taught a didasken, taught to Balak. He taught Balak, or taught literally to Balak with the dative here. Notice that this to is going to tell us that Balak is also in the dative, even though this is an indeclinable name. And I'm going to remove our underlines here just so I can remark some things here. So he taught to Balak. So this is going to be our not indefinite, our indirect object. He taught to Balak. What he taught Balak is going to be this. This is going to be the object of the teaching right here. So let's take away that movement again. What he taught Balak was balain, to throw. So we have a second aorist. Notice how we're missing a lambda from balo here. When that lambda drops, we know we have a second aorist. Second aorist active infinitive. This ain ending is our infinitive, which refers to the pure idea of the word, the verb not constrained by person and number. He taught Balak, and so we translate it to the idea of the verb. To throw, and what is thrown? The object is scandal. He taught Balak to throw scandal. Enopion, all of this that follows now is going to be a prepositional phrase. Enopion, preposition meaning before, takes the genitive after it. Before the sons Israel of Israel. So Israel is another one of those names that, you guessed it, does not decline. So we don't have a genitive ending here, but it is presumed. The sons of Israel. Phagain. Again, we have an infinitive here. To eat, and then what is eaten is idolothuta. You get a definition for this in your Greek Reader's Edition, but I don't believe that you get the parsing information of it here. And so our parsing information is this going to be a neuter accusative plural. It's in the accusative because it's the object of the infinitive here. To eat sacrificed things. And pornusai, to commit sexual immorality. Sorry, not sexual immortality. I don't know what that would be. And I made a mistake that I want to correct here really quickly. So I have this right here as our prepositional phrase running from enopion to the end. That was actually incorrect. Our prepositional phrase runs from enopion to Israel, before the sons of Israel. And there's then these parts, this part here is sort of giving us more information about the scandal that Balaam taught Balak is to eat things sacrificed to idols and to act in ways that are sexually immoral. So strictly speaking, I think we should end our prepositional phrase that starts with enopion right here at Israel. And then all of this stuff over here is sort of going back and telling us what the nature of the scandal is there. So let's put this all back together. We have, but I have a few things against you. Namely, you have there some holding to the teaching of Balaam, who taught Balak to throw scandal before the sons of Israel by eating things sacrificed to idols and by acting sexually immorally. So again, because this is the nature of the scandal, that's why we're translating the infinitives here as by, even though quite literally we'd want to translate them to eat food sacrificed to idols and to act sexually immorally. But because they're giving us more information about the scandal in English, we change that to by eating things sacrificed and by acting sexually immorally.